All right. So I don't know if you know this or not about me. Um, I go live, I write live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week at noon Eastern Standard Time. And I do it on YouTube Live. And on Mondays, usually I'm also on Twitch. So I do the both of them. And I have, I don't know, a dozen or so people that jump in here and there, ask questions, talk. We talk about all kinds of crazy, weird things. But I had a really good question come up from somebody who is writing their first book. And they've written short stories in the past. And now they're just basically, they've just been working on this book for like 3 years. It's all they're writing. And they said, how do you keep it up? You know, I've been doing this for 35 or more years. This will be my 15th year as a full-time author, able to make a living off of this. So they're like, how do you keep interest? How do you keep going? You know, we're not talking writer's block. We're talking, how do you stay connected to a specific story, a novel, a novella, a short story, whatever? And my answer is simple. I don't work on one thing at a time. I juggle several projects at the same time. So when you see me and I'm on, a lot of times people will go, "Hey, what are you working on?" And I'll say, I'll give you a name of a story that I'm writing, and it could be either a short story or a novella or a novel. And a lot of times there are 5, 6, maybe 7 different projects that are pulled up on my screen, and I will jump within the same day. Sometimes I will jump from one to another to another. I'll start my morning. I'll be like, you know what? I want to finish this short story because I saw a really cool anthology coming up with this theme. So I'm going to finish up this short story today, and I'll work on that in the morning. And then at noon, after I've had a lunch, I will jump and I'll go, you know what? I'm going to work on my Southern Gothic noir thriller book. I want to write another page, at least. I want to write 500 pages. 500 pages, I wish. 500 words more of this story. So I do that. And then maybe I go longer than an hour. Maybe I'm in the hour and a half mark, and I'm like, you know what? Let me jump to this last monster book I have to write for Severed Press. Let me write 500 words, 500 pages. Let me write 500 words in this as well. My goal, if you watch my video, how I write 400,000 words a year, my goal is 1,096 words a day. That doesn't mean 1,096 words or more on one story. Sometimes I've written 500 words in this story, 500 words in this story, and maybe I wrote 200 words in something else. I just kind of threw something together, started a brand new short story, and whatnot. So for me, it's not necessarily which project I'm working on, as far as I need a few projects that are open. Those documents are open in the morning when I start, because I don't know, a lot of times I don't know which one I'm going to work on. Now, I might have sat on the couch last night, we're watching television, my mind wanders, I think of a scene for one of my stories, one of the 5 or 6 or 7 that's pulled up, and I'm like, you know what, if this is good enough, I'll remember it in the morning. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If it was good enough, I remember it in the morning. So I will jump in and I will say, you know what? I'm going to work on this story first because I have an idea for it. And then during the day I might have ideas for other things. Or if I'm like, I don't know, I'm not feeling any of these right now specifically, I might look at it and go, you know what? Let me just read the last chapter. Let me just kind of skim through a couple of chapters that I've written. Because again, I'm a complete pantser. So there's no sheet with an outline. There's no document that here's my beats of the story and all that. None of that is it's all in this giant head. And so I look at it and I'm like, all right, let me write something on this and let me see if it starts to flow. Let me see if this makes sense. And usually it does. Usually I might have to go back and go, I got a better idea. Regardless, I get an idea and I run with it. And so that's kind of for me, that's kind of the thing. And it works. It definitely works for me that I don't get bored with them. I don't. There's no such thing as writer's block for me because if I'm stuck on a story, I just walk away from that and I work on something else. So I'm still being productive. So when my wife gets home at night from her actual job, she says, "How'd you do today?" And I don't say, "Oh, I watched 6 episodes of something on Netflix. I took a great nap. I read." I mean, a lot of times I'm doing those things, but not 6 episodes, 4 episodes maybe. So I look at it and I say, what do I need to write for a good day? Because the writing part is a small part at this point of the career. The writing, again, 1,000 words, I could knock that out into 15-minute Mondo Methods sprints. There's a video about that too, so watch that one as well. You know what? Hit the subscribe button. Watch all of my videos. I would really appreciate it. So some things now. Here's when it gets a little tricky. If I have a deadline, a lot of times working with specific publishers, I work small press. I also self-publish, and so I. Sometimes, and a lot of times I'm writing a short story and there's a deadline. So I know, on my Excel spreadsheet that my wife created for me with all of my numbers, all of my, here's the story, here's my goal, here's actual what I've written on it so far, here's how much in that section I have left, blah, blah, blah. I will put dates in another column if there is a deadline. And a lot of short stories is going to be the end of the month, the last day of the month kind of thing. So my goal is always to try to knock out those stories, 2,500, 5,000, whatever the word count is. Sometimes it's flash fiction. Oh, it's we want exactly 300 words. We want a drabble. We want 100 words, whatever the case may be. I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, what can I do to get there, to knock off these projects that definitely have deadlines to them? And so I always have to I number them. What I do is I do like a 1 through 9, 1 through 10, however many stories are currently open. And I figure out, all right, the goal is that number 1 story is the one I'm going to work on. I got to work on today. It doesn't always work. I'll be honest with you. There's stories that are top 5 and I haven't worked on them in 2 weeks, for instance, because I got these other ideas for the other ones. I try not to force myself to write anything, especially like right now. I don't have any of my stories. I have 3, 4, 5. I have 7 books and 8 short stories that are not completed yet. Okay. And you're talking about like 340,000 words or so. So even if I wrote everything here, it would take me close to a year. It would take me 10 months to write all these, we'll call it. So that would take me till the end of the year if I want to finish all these things. That's not including adding anything to the list. So the problem is none of them. All these short stories are just ideas that I've had that I'm going to write a short story and then I'm going to look for a publisher for it. Then I'm going to look for an anthology. I'm going to look for an online thing. I'm going to look for a magazine, whatever the case may be. So, and some of these have been sitting here for a year. Some of these ideas, this has 520 words written on it. This has 2,421 words on it. So there's not, they're kind of all over the place. I always like to at least write a page. When I start a short story, I want to write a page of that short story. I want to get to that second page because then I feel like, okay, then there's something here. There's something that makes sense here. So that's kind of what I'm doing with these stories. With the novels and sometimes the novellas, I look at it and I say, okay, where am I in this? What can I add? What can I? Am I close to being finished? The Severed Press novella, for instance, it's the 12th and final one of the contract, and I am at 14,000 words, and it's a 30,000 word novella. So I'm pretty close. So I'm sure tomorrow when I pick up and I'm like, you know what, I got to write 1,000 words on this thing just to get me to the halfway mark, just so I feel better about myself. And some of these other ones, I'm like, well, I've just finished the first part of this Southern Gothic noir thriller. I'm at 25,000 words. My goal is 75 to 100,000 words for this book. So I know that part one is finished. Now we jump into part two. And so that's kind of where I look at it. I go, okay, we're going to write about 25,000 words per part, however many chapters that's going to be. I'm also co-writing a book with Tom Duffy right now. It's the third book in a trilogy. So that wraps up the fourth trilogy we will write together. Probably the last for a while because I just got so many other things up here right now. But we are at probably about halfway done with that one. And so I just wait for him to write a chapter and then I knock out the next chapter. And I don't ever know when that chapter is coming. And so he might be writing it right now, or he might not write it for 3 days. I don't know. So that's one of those where I'm just kind of like, it's a pleasant, he usually writes in the middle of the night too. So I wake up and roll out of bed at 9 o'clock in the morning and I get a text and says chapter done. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to work on that today. When I work on that book, for instance, my goal is to write the entire chapter. Those chapters are going to be about 1,250, 1,300 words. So I know if I only write that next chapter to give to him, I've hit my work for the day. I've hit my word count. And the goal on those days is to write on something else as well, to get ahead, to get as far ahead as possible. So that's kind of the fun of it, the excitement of it as well. So a lot of different things I look at. I'm also a little wacky when it comes to that. Like he sends me that chapter, and I'm immediately like, I'm on a deadline here. I'm on a time limit, even though he's writing one chapter a week, maybe 2 chapters a week. My thing is, I want to get, you sent me this to me today. Today is Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, you're going to have this thing back. So I have to write this thing today and send it back to you. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but a lot of times it does. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this done where you keep that going. When that one is done, I have a dry erase board. I have all the open projects on it. And so I get to erase them. I have the whole list of my next 18 months of book releases. Then I get to, book is released, and I get to do it. I also keep track on a Post-it note of which books that are finished are currently out with beta readers, which beta readers are looking at them. So it's kind of everyone's heard, writers have heard the expression, the James Patterson factory. Okay. Where he's coming up with ideas, other writers are co-writing with him. And he's got all these different, irons in the fire, and it all magically works out, and he's getting steady releases. That's always been my thing, steady releases. It's slowed down a little bit this year. Book sales are a little off, if we're being honest, but I'm excited because more and more stuff will be coming out. More and more stuff will be generated. So that's kind of the thing. Um, if you have any specific questions about any of this, let me know. I think I've answered the question. I love questions. So if you have a question about writing, if you have a question about publishing, any of that stuff, I have a couple of post-it notes with a bunch of different questions people have asked me, and so I'm always jotting them down. Come check me out live while I'm writing in on YouTube Live again, noon Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But I'm also usually on Tuesdays and some Thursdays as well. I'll jump in. So come hang out with me. Come check it out, and let's do this thing. Please hit the subscribe button. Please watch a bunch of my videos. I'm trying to make this into something, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, and I hope to keep going and going with it. If you got any questions, just let me know. And thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it.